Hi, welcome to One More Today. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in learning or exploring a little bit more of this ancient language, my native tongue, every day. Yesterday, we talked about 唇红齿白, which is Chinese phrase to describe beauty, more like one character of what's considered beautiful, which is with red lips and white teeth. And I went out of battery yesterday before I can continue finish up with this illustration of this GIF file, which is pretty famous. I guess it became, in today's lingo, it became a meme since its release from the movie called God of Gambler's Return. So it has the first installment, and then this is a sequel to the first installment, basically talking about the best gamblers and the drama, all that. And I guess we know that the capital of gambling in America is Las Vegas, right? And in East Asia, it's Macau. So gambling was, still is a big thing among Chinese population. Somehow, a lot of Chinese like to gamble. There may be some social explanations of why such a population is so attracted to gambling. They want to try their luck, to give up their, to try to get their fortune quick money through gambling. But so gambling itself is one of the major pastime or activities among the population. Therefore, this movie that talks about the God, we use the God word as a storytelling is subject matter that naturally will draw attention. And from this highly, commercially successful movie, there came out this meme of this girl that represents the beauty ideal with red lips and white teeth. She's doing this card thing, that kind of in a gambling gambler house to issue the card or something. I forgot what happened over there, but this action of putting the card in her mouth that kind of accentuate her red lips and white teeth. So that captured the imagination of a whole generation of men in China. So I just want to show you that the best known meme of the time ever since the 1990s. And till today, like the movie industry, the entertainment industry, of course, still keep producing new generations of actors and stars with all that attributes of white teeth, red lips, that ideal. But this is a high mark that's hard to surpass. So later generations of actors, they can hardly pull this off to become a meme status as this one I'm showing you from this movie. Okay, so today we continue with 唇 and 齿. 唇亡齿寒. So yesterday was about beautiful concept of what's considered a youthful looking, healthy looking female, especially feature that was red and white to form a sort of a contrast and give you this direct visual sense. But today is the downside of it. It's not about the beauty, it's about the death. So Wang and Han both are pretty chilly word. But the main characters are still something about teeth and lips. So just a quick review of lips. We have the mouth symbol, which is this box with this up-tilted corner. And then the top portion is a symbol from the 12 signs that categorize the world, the ancient way to explain how the world works. So basically there are some cycles, there are some patterns, and there are ups and downs, right? So we know from the West perspective that, okay, the East, we have the yin and yang, but that's a super simplification, right? It's just two colors, two motions, even if there's transition, almost like an S curve of this sine wave thing. Like things goes up and then go down, and this is a continuation of ups and downs. And yin and yang, that's kind of a transitioning always. But to further, I guess, to have a more complicated computation or forecast of what's going to happen. And then there are the whole theory of how things are computed and what elements to play at each other. So this character, all the complicated strokes above this mouse symbol is the third icon from that computation. And this is about almost like an earthquake. So it's about shaking things up. So this shaking sign paired with mouse symbol is somebody's facial expression in shock. It's like, kind of like that. So I guess in that motion, the lips, which forms almost like an O shape, to show the the shocking moment on the face. That's the moment when lips are super pronounced. Because normally when you speak, lips is part of the pronunciation task force, I guess. So together with tongues, teeth, the whole chamber, the lips, we produce sound, we articulate, right? And that moment of shock, when things are freezing, you don't have a word to utter. In fact, you have your air breathing. It's like, right? It's a hold your breath. So there's no pronunciation coming out. And that's the kind of time freeze, still frame moment when the lips are positioned in a weird position, not as regular position. That's when people start to notice lips. So I guess that's how that moment of expression was captured to depict lips. Okay, and Wang, we have this lower ground. I noticed that some of the Chinese characters, when they're written kind of like this, originally it was just horizontal line, stop right there. This elongated portion is a stylized way. So same as here. This, you see the contemporary one, stopped right there. But this somehow got stylized to going further downward and take a turn like a going downward. So some of the stylized Chinese character renderings have that. But basically the elements is like this. This is the frame of a bottom left corner of a Chinese character frame. So in one Chinese character frame, it depicts a picture, right? It depicts a world, like either zoom up on something or zoom out on something. So this bottom left frame over here, this vertical line, horizontal line, form like this, is the lower ground. So basically it's a ground level, versus we have a top left corner here. It's like the edge of a cliff. So it's like a high ground. This is low ground. So that's the basic, two rules of like opposing ways to express, are you looking at the ground level or you're looking up, right? So this is the ground level. So something close to the ground. And then this is a human figure, generic. There's no gender, no age, just a generic human figure. And this human figure getting close to the ground. So originally it was about person hiding underground. It could be temporarily hiding over there, but eventually this person, if he's hiding there for a long time, doesn't come out ever, that becomes like permanently hiding there. That's an indirect way to say that person is passed away. It's forever buried under the ground. So that's the death symbol when this person is still seen above the ground, right? I mean, I guess a more logical way to express that, it should be something about something having this person figure below the ground, right? Should be like that, but that's ancient language creators' way to visualize what is death, is hiding away of this human figure close to the ground. Okay, 齿 is a visual representation of the teeth. Here is the upper teeth, lower teeth, and because we have like what 28 teeth adult in a mouth, so it's impossible to draw out all the teeth in there, right? So we just use 2. The language customarily, you see here, use 2. Actually, here use 4 of the same thing, repeated pattern. So just use 2 is enough to show it's a line of teeth and positioned on the upper level, and here's the lower level teeth. It's kind of cute to have this almost like cartoon figure, like this shape. And then the frame here, just like here, is the mouth symbol, right? The box with up to the corner. So we have upper teeth, lower teeth, very direct. But for language users, when you see the symbol, if you know this is the mouth symbol, and you can kind of guess this is about teeth on the upper and the lower level, but you don't know how to pronounce it. Because you cannot say ko, which is the mouth. You cannot say that. Again, you cannot distinguish this ko from the teeth, right? You cannot distinguish the mouth from teeth if you pronounce the same. So it have to be a different pronunciation. But this thing is pretty abstract, right? How to pronounce that. So somebody add a sound maker. And this is one of the rare occasions when sound maker just fully as the sound maker doesn't carry over some meaning of it, because this thing, this symbol, which is 指, actually means foot. So I couldn't make sense of why foot is placed right next to the mouth with a full of teeth, right? So it got to be the sound maker here. It sounds 指. So now when we have this, and it carries a different meaning. So the sound got transferred. It's 齿. So 唇齿 simply lips and teeth. And han, okay, we have a repeated pattern of 4 of them, right? So this upward turning kind of concave shape with a vertical line in there is the basic symbol for grass. So something growing from the ground. Just 3 of them is enough to show the branches, the bush, and the twigs. So the plant structure, just 3 of them is enough. And then we repeat them. Oftentimes it's repeated. Oftentimes it's repeated twice, actually. So 2 of them holding, like with kind of looking like this, right? 2 of them together. That's grass. And because grass, very rarely just 1, right? So always like a cluster of them. It's a multitude. So we just use 2 to mean multitude of them. In this case, we have an arch here with a little chimney top. That is a shelter, a symbol for shelter, to shield the person from the elements. And then this is a person. Okay, this is, okay, here, this figure, I guess the whole thing here, this figure is a person. So that's a person under a roof, basically. And then have grasses or haze. I guess the grass are dried up grass. The haze covering them, on top of them and below them. And the 2, kind of like a person looking figure, actually is the ancient way to say water. Water as kind of individual, like drops of water, not water like in a stream, continuation of a river, not the water in massive, continue channeled water body. But here is like a single, like it's separated, it's discontinued, but drops of water. Okay, so 2 of them. And that to give you a sense of, okay, elements, because supposedly you are in the domestic space with a chimney top, that gives you shield you, right? It's a shelter, shield you from the natural elements. So supposedly something like water shouldn't be within your home, right? If it's within your home, it's tap water. I mean, tap water is contemporary living, but in the back then, it's water that you used to cook, right? But here it's showing within the domestic space, and that means this element, which means water, but when it gets colder, it becomes ice. So ice within your household, that means it's getting cold to a degree so that you feel the need to stay warm by covering yourself with grass. So grass on top of you, grass below you. So I guess these are dried grass, so they're haze. So hay covering the human body, hiding under the dome or the roof in the domestic space. And because this coldness, this chill already sinking in within your room. So this shelter is effective to keep the rain out, but the shelter cannot keep the cold weather, the coldness out. The temperature still sink in, right? Unless you have good insulation, which is contemporary technology. So, solved the issue for us to live comfortably in an air-conditioned room. But in ancient times, at most they can have some stoves inside, right, to stay warm. And in this case, probably that's pre-stove in the house age, or even if they have stove, it's not enough. So people try to insulate themselves from the coldness with haze. So that's what this picture is depicting. It basically is showing it's chill. It's so super chill. So 唇亡齿寒 talks about the relationship between lips, because lips is the out layer of the teeth. I mean, it's outside of teeth. Teeth and lips are two things, separate entities. They have each their different character. They serve different functions. They look different, right? Two things, but they are right next to each other. Lips is right outside teeth. So lips and teeth, even if they're different things, they just because the proximity of each other. So if the lips die, if the lips are gone, imagine, I mean, that's probably pretty horrifying image to imagine. If you don't have lips to cover, the teeth will be exposed directly to the air, right? And if this is cold weather, the teeth will feel chill. I don't know about you, but in cold weather, I can hardly speak. My teeth will tighten up, right? I cannot, my jaws just doesn't work anymore. I can only speak in a certain temperature, I guess. So when it's too cold, the teeth will do this shuddering thing. And so that's the relationship between the lips and teeth. So obviously the language creators create 唇亡齿寒 doesn't mean the relationship between the two. Well, I mean, it doesn't just talking about the lips and teeth. It talks about personal relationships, like between people. So it illustrates this relationship between two entities, two organizations, or two tribes, two countries, two forces, that one is like lips, the other one is like teeth. If one pass taken down by a third party enemy, then this one right next to the lips, the teeth will feel the chill, like right away. So historically, it happened. You see, 唇亡齿寒, this came from an illustration of this concept to try to explain to new language learners of what this is about. It's historically happened conquering story. So there are different regimes in this 春秋战国, so warring kingdom era, where there are at least 7 independent regimes. We can regard it like 7 big tribes or 7 sub-nations in the domain of contemporary China. So the Qin, the first emperor, unifying everywhere, standardized the whole, like the road width or the carriage standardization, or even the language use, or accent to speak, all of that, currency, right? All of that standardization happened after the Qing conquer everywhere else. Otherwise, it's different nations, right? It's like Europe, many different countries. You cannot step over to force your way of doing things on another nation, right? So in that era of warring kingdoms, at least 7 of them major powers. So eventually this 唇亡齿寒in this phrase is like 7 of them have a sort of power balance. One cannot dominate the other 6, vice versa. But this Qing rise up in its military, like it increases military spending. It raise a bigger army, and then start to battling with its neighboring countries. And so it uses strategy called 远交近攻 that we talked about in the 36th stratagem at the end of last year, that's about to make peace with country that's far away. So that country won't stand up to protect the countries of in between them, right? So the far away country will stay still, while this rising power are going to be taken down one by one of all the other regimes, until there's no other country to protect this in direct contact with this rising power. And then, of course, there's no way for it to go back to absorbed into the same kingdom. But that's the quite bloody unifying history of China, that become the first central uniformed, centralized power. So I guess here is the Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, that's basically excel at warring, but was not good at running the country. It's good at conquering, but not governing. But the story totally illustrate the relationship of your neighboring country. You want to make sure your neighboring country stays safe, so that in face of a strong enemy, you can join force, fight off the stronger enemy, instead of waiting the stronger enemy to conquer your neighbor, and then it's your turn when you have nobody else to save, or to join force with you to fight off this stronger one. So kind of illustrates the current Ukraine situation. That's why all the countries are lining up together to support Ukraine, because we don't want to see the 唇亡齿寒story reenacted again like 2,000 years later. But of course, historically, things like this happen again and again. That's why we have this phrase. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking back. One word a day. See you another day.